So one of the questions I asked him was about how they're going to try to define success this week, because you're playing against a team that you're supposed to beat. It's going to be a much different looking game than the first 2 weeks. You're not facing the triple option. You're not facing an FCS opponent that's way overmatched. You're facing a team that not only doesn't really want to run the ball, they run it just barely enough for you to think like, okay, maybe they'll run it. They basically just try to throw it all over the place. Austin Reed, their redshirt senior quarterback, is, had statistically had one of the best quarterback seasons in the country last year. But it's offset by the fact that defensively they're not very good, right? So you're kind of hoping this is going to be a banner day offensively, and your defense is going to be tested in a way that they haven't been tested yet. And so I asked Ryan yesterday, how do you define success here this weekend? Here's what he said.
Ryan, you were pretty straightforward with us after Indiana when we were talking to you about success. You said, hey, 250 on the ground, 300 through the air, want to score 50 points. Like, that's kind of how you define it. But I'm curious, like in a week like this, aside from that, how do you define success this week? Like, what things are you looking at saying, hey, we're going to, if version 3.0 of us is going to be really good, this, that, whatever it might be, how do you define success this week?
Well, I think the first thing is you want everyone to grade out a champion. You've heard us talk about that. So, we look at effort, we look at execution, we look at different things. And if guys grade over 80%, then they're a champion. I mean, that's a tangible thing you can look at. And, if you have your starters or you have a good portion of your offense or defense, grade out a champion, that's probably a pretty good day. If you don't, then that's not the direction we're trying to go in. So that's the job of the position coaches and the unit coaches and the leader, make sure that their unit is grading out a champion. And we have to be, hard and hold our standard of what is considered a champion and what isn't, because that's ultimately what it comes down to. Now, we'll also look at the game and see, how do we do in third downs? How do we do in red zone? We go through all those situations in the team meeting on Sunday. Did we win those situations? We look at rushing yards. We look at explosive plays. We look at the red zone. We look at third down. We won most of those. We did not win third medium. So that's an area we need to see an improvement in. But those really, if you say tangibly, what are the things? The champions, and then did we win the situations?
What do you think?
I love that. I love that clip because my personal favorite part about it is the situational part. Like, hey, we're going to really study the situationals. And that's just so big. Like, kind of for reference to everyone listening, like every day in practice, Monday they're off, or Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday when it's like actual work days, you script periods for situationals, whether that's red zone day or whether that's third down day or whether that's first and second down day, whatever the case is. That's such a serious emphasis along the way, and it happens really quick. So it's really important, to get good work in during the week, but it's got to come to fruition on Saturdays. And I love hearing him say like, "Hey, last week we lost third and medium," and that's a huge deal to us because that is a big deal. Getting in the red area. I can think of 2 times in the red area where they didn't score. Definitely one where you just didn't score. And that can't happen. That can't happen at Ohio State. That can't happen down the street at your high school game on Friday night, but it can happen in Columbus. So I love the emphasis on situational work and having situational success, along with, hey, the dude's got to grade out well. Because if the guys grade out well, the situational stuff will take care of itself. So let's grade everybody out at the champion level, 80%. That's a high bar to reach. And then from there, let's execute when our backs are against the wall. In the most important parts of the football game, let's be the winners. And I love that answer from him.
Yeah, I think it's one of the things I most appreciate about this coaching staff. There's a lot of pressure on these guys to win all the time. Losing's unacceptable. And there's a lot of different ways to go about how you build a program that wins consistently. And in my opinion, we are at this point well outside the shadow of the Urban Meyer team. This is Ryan Day's program. His fingerprints are all over it, right? And I'm not saying Urban's aren't or Coach Tressel's aren't, but these are Ryan Day's guys. These are the philosophies that, he has to stand up with and the coaches that he's hired and so on and so forth, right? This is not I inherited a program and I'm going to just continue what was being done. He is well into this is how I do things. And so there's ownership in that. And I give him and his staff credit for in an atmosphere right now where they are probably going into this season saying, all right, this doesn't feel like going into 2020 when Justin Fields was coming back off of a 2019, loss in a bowl game where you felt jobbed, or didn't feel like 2022 where you had CJ Stroud coming back and you had a whole bunch of talent and you felt like, gosh, this is the year that things are going to click. It was a disappointing loss to Michigan, but won the Rose Bowl in epic fashion. All these receivers coming back. It's going to be a great season. There's a lot of excitement and anticipation around this year's team, but I think as a staff, you look at it and say, hey, hold on a second. New starting quarterback, 3 new offensive linemen. Like, let's just pump the brakes here and remember that there is a process we have to go about. And, despite all of the outside noise that they claim, hey, we don't listen to any of that. I appreciate that, but come on, everybody hears stuff, and you got to have a filter that's realistic to know what to push aside and say that doesn't matter, and what stuff actually will get to you and resonate. And I give them credit for, I'm assuming they're being honest in the way they're answering these questions there. I give them credit for being process oriented.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say that was by far and away one of his more detailed answers. To a question. And I love that, you can see exactly what you said. What's important to Ryan Day when it's a Ryan Day coach program, and that's got to be the case. The situational success is the case kind of throughout the country. But hey, we want our guys to perform on their individual jobs correctly and do it to the best of their abilities. And then we have to win when, our backs are against the wall. And that's what a Ryan Day coach team is going to do. And that's what he's trying to build with these guys because, as we've said before, being able to do this, to be successful on 3rd and short against Western Kentucky isn't going to beat you, Michigan, this week, but it's certainly a step in the right direction. And the same thing on the flip side, losing 3rd and medium to Youngstown State is something you got to correct right now. It can't be any longer where, you're playing an inferior opponent and you're 3rd and 6 and we're punting after that. Like, we got to execute now because, later on in the season, that stuff like that, those little mistakes will come back to bite you. So you have one more great opportunity to really hone that in, really sharpen that tool. And then, it's kind of go time, after that.